to kindly support the bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir, for affording this opportunity to take part in the discussion on the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2022. Sir, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 is the landmark legislation in the legislative history of Indian Parliament. The Act was then amended in the year 1991, and I would like to appreciate the government and the minister in taking initiative in making appropriate changes in the appropriate time so as to update the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 as amended in the year 1991. Sir, it is an admitted fact that the ecological and the environment security of the country, we cannot discuss in the Indian scenario alone, we have to discuss in the global scenario. We have had a very detailed discussion about the climate change conference which has recently took place and had a very good detailed discussion in this House. And at the same time, I would like to state that the ecological security or the environment security means the protection, safety of the wild animals, birds and plants is also part and parcel of the ecosystem So that is why it is the prime responsibility of each and every citizen or the human as well as the entire society to see that the wildlife, especially the wild animals, birds and plants are protected. Safety and security of these things have to be taken into the prime consideration. Sir, coming to this amendment bill, even the first thing is regarding the preamble is to be amended. I think that it is having a wider perspective because in the original bill, in the principal bill, it is being the protection of wildlife. Now we are amending it to as protection, management and conservation. That means giving wider perspective as far as the wildlife is concerned because management of the wildlife as well as the conservation of the wildlife, it is need of the hour. Definitely, I fully support this concept by which the animal, the wildlife is being protected, not only protected, we have to conserve as well as to manage. Definitely, the human-animal conflict will definitely come within the purview of this management. And also, this buffer zone management, definitely it will come within the purview. I think that everything, environmental aspects, ecological aspects, everything will come under these two words, that is management and conservation as well as protection. So I fully support and agree, and I would like to appreciate the Honourable Minister in bringing such an amendment to the preamble itself by which we are widening the perspective and concept of this wildlife. And coming to another point regarding the conservation and the only apprehension which I would like to make is that whether the government, especially government led by BJP and NDA since 2014, whether you are following or abiding the principles of this wildlife protection, security and their safety. See, because this government is always talking of the mantra of development. It is quite unfortunate. I can very well cite series of examples. Because of the paucity of the time, I am not going to that. Because in the mantra of development, you are not taking into consideration, regarding the environmental aspects, the ecological aspects, even the protection under the Wildlife Act is being ignored in almost all the cases, even in the mining and in so many other cases, it is being, because in the mantra of development. Development means what? It should be a sustainable development. It should be based on the principles of the ecological safety and the environment safety. It should be based on that. But unfortunately, if we examine the 8 years of experience of this government in power, if you critically examine if the Honourable Minister, if you have an introspection among yourselves, it can very well seen that most of the stringent rules and regulations so as to have the protection of the environment, so as to protect the wildlife, is being diluted by means of series of policy decisions as well as amendments to the existing acts. But this act, I fully agree with you, but at the same time, mere enactment of the piece of legislation is not sufficient to protect the wildlife, but strong political will is required so as to protect this wildlife as enunciated in this law. Sir, coming to a particular point, with that point I will conclude my speech. That is regarding the elephants. Sir, you may kindly see the bill have a huge influence over we are having a cultural and festive spirit of a state like Kerala. That is regarding the protection of tamed elephants, which are an integral part of many festive of the state of Kerala, such as the UNESCO recognized Thrissur Puram festive, which showcase the cultural integrity that the state of Kerala stands for. Sir, in Kerala alone, there are 437 tamed elephants, out of which 39 elements belong to the forest. Every year, an average of 30 elements are dying. We know that the cultural festive, the ritual festive elephant is a must. Sir, there is a definition in clause 2, subclause 6. In the clause 2, subclause 6, if you examine it, there was a definition prior to this amendment. There was a definition by which it was included in section 26 with because of the. Yes, 2 clause 6 of the bill by which it is included in cattle. Yes, it's included in cattle. Subsequently, in the 1991 amendment, it is being omitted. And at the same time, it is there in part 1 of the schedule also. Please conclude. 1 second. I'm talking on the bill within the sections, provisions. And so my submission is the tamed elephants have to be protected. The tamed elephants has to be protected. My suggestion, I'm not going to the details. My amendment is there. My suggestion is it is to be incorporated in the schedule because Asiatic elephant is there. Along with the Asiatic elephant, excluding the tamed elephant because so that it can be protected. I fully agree that a new provision has been incorporated by which the ownership, the transfer and ownership is well accepted. I totally oppose the recommendation made by the standing committee headed by Sri Jairam Ramesh that it can be only for the trust, temple trust and all these things. Individuals should also be given authority to own, transfer and transport these elephants. With these words I conclude. Thank you very much.
Sri Ganesh Singh.